The man who had everything and threw it all away because he couldn't stop chasing the feeling of being someone new. A confession from a studio apartment where I deserve to be, watching my daughter grow up with a stranger's last name while my ex-wife plans a wedding I'll never be invited to, and realizing too late that the person I destroyed loved me more than I ever deserved, more than I ever understood, and more than anyone ever will again. I didn't plan it. That's what every guy says, I know. But I need you to understand that I didn't, not consciously, anyway. It happened the way a lot of things happen when you stop paying attention to the edges, gradually, then suddenly, then too late. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when I texted her. Just hey, been thinking about you. That's all. 3 words that were going to burn my entire life to the ground, though I didn't know it yet. I thought I was just, I don't know, feeling something I was missing. Feeling seen again. Let me back up. I was married to Catherine for 8 years. We have a daughter, Emma, who's 5. When I say married, I mean we built something real, not the kind of thing you see in movies, but the kind you build with your hands, day by day. Catherine was the person who made me feel like I mattered. She was the first person to do that, actually. Before her, I was one of those guys who thought love was supposed to feel like fireworks all the time. Catherine taught me it was supposed to feel like home. We met at university. She was studying nursing, I was aimlessly trying to figure out if business or engineering would make my parents less disappointed. She laughed at something stupid I said in the library, and I was done. It took me 6 months to work up the courage to ask her out, and when I finally did, I was shaking. She said yes before I even finished the question. 8 years later, I had a wife who knew every stupid thing about me and chose to stay anyway. We had a kid. We had a mortgage. We had the kind of normal life that doesn't make for interesting conversations at bars, but it was ours. By last year, I hated it. Not her. I need to be clear about that, I didn't hate Catherine. But I hated how invisible I felt. I hated that I was 34 years old and still felt like nobody was really looking at me. At work, I was fine, competent but forgettable. At home, I was dad and husband, which are roles, not identities. Nobody asked me what I wanted anymore. Conversations were about Emma's school, the mortgage, whether we could afford a new fence. Catherine was tired, nursing does that to you, and somewhere along the way, she stopped asking me how my day was. She just assumed it was fine, the way you assume the sun will come up. So when Jasmine texted me on LinkedIn, Jasmine, who I dated for 3 months in 2011 before I met Catherine, Jasmine who was in the city for a conference, I didn't delete it. I read it 3 times. She'd seen me in our company directory, she said. She wanted to catch up. I told myself I was just being friendly. My friends at work thought I was being smart. You're in your prime, Reynolds said. Why are you home at 6 p.m. watching a 5-year-old's dance recital? He said it like it was a prison sentence, and I laughed, but something in me agreed with him. I wasn't old. I wasn't done. I wasn't supposed to be the guy who went to dance recitals and put together IKEA furniture and thought a Friday night out meant going to Applebee's with Catherine's coworkers. Somewhere I'd lost the thread of whoever I was supposed to be. Jasmine was different now. She was in marketing, making real money, living in a loft downtown, going to wine bars where people talked about things other than colic and school lunch options. When she texted about books and philosophy and her new motorcycle. She thought I was interesting. She asked me questions about myself and actually waited for the answers. I told myself I was just having coffee with an old friend. That first coffee turned into dinner. That dinner was supposed to be it, but then she texted the next week, and I said yes again, and somewhere around the 3rd or 4th time, I stopped bothering to pretend, even to myself. I started taking her calls in my car before I drove home. I started deleting texts. I started staying late at work, not because I had to, but because the longer I stayed, the longer I could pretend. The worst part, and I mean the worst part, is how easy it was to convince myself that Catherine wouldn't care. That she was too tired to notice. That we'd grown apart so much that this didn't really matter, that we were already broken, that maybe this was just the universe telling me I'd settled too young. I told myself our marriage was already over. I told myself I was just being honest about wanting more. I told myself Jasmine got me in a way Catherine never had. All lies. Every single one. But I believed them because I needed to. By September, Jasmine and I were sleeping together. I'd made it to that place where you stop even trying to hide it from yourself. I wasn't the guy cheating on his wife anymore, I was the guy who'd realized he'd made a mistake when he was young, who'd chosen the wrong path, who was now bravely correcting course. That's what I actually thought. I'd rationalized it so completely that sometimes I'd come home and look at Catherine, really look at her, in her scrubs, dark circles under her eyes, asking me how my day was while simultaneously trying to get Emma to eat her vegetables, and I'd feel almost righteous about it. Like I was doing her a favor. Like I was the victim here. Catherine used to be the first person I wanted to tell things to. If something funny happened at work, I'd make a note to tell her later. If I was worried about something, she was the person who made it better. Somewhere along the way, that stopped. I started wanting to tell Jasmine things. I started wanting to be the person Jasmine saw me as, interesting, ambitious, still becoming. The thing is, Catherine never stopped trying. She never stopped seeing me, even when I'd made myself invisible. In October, she booked a night at a hotel, called her mom to watch Emma, and told me we were going to spend a night together. Just us. She got dressed up, and I remember thinking for just a second how beautiful she still was, how much effort she'd put in. Then I thought about how she'd gained some weight in the past few years, how she wasn't Instagram worthy like Jasmine, and I felt a flash of something, not quite disgust, but that was in the neighborhood. That thought alone should have broken me. It didn't. I went to the hotel, and I made love to my wife, and the entire time I was thinking about someone else. That's when I knew I'd become the kind of person I'd always hated. But I didn't stop. By November, Jasmine was hinting at moving in together. She asked me what I wanted my life to look like in 5 years, and I don't think I slept for 3 days after that conversation because I realized I didn't know anymore. I'd spent so long looking at everything I thought I was missing that I'd stopped seeing what I actually had. Catherine sensed something was wrong. Of course she did. She's a nurse, she's trained to notice when people are falling apart. She asked me, gently, if I was okay. If we were okay. And I told her we were fine, she was just stressed from work, we'd be fine once the holidays came around. I was lying to the one person who'd never lied to me. The one person who deserved the truth more than anyone. Jasmine wanted to meet on Christmas Eve. I told Catherine the first had to work. I'd never worked Christmas Eve in my life, but I said it, and Catherine nodded, and that silence, that quiet nodding, was worse than if she'd screamed at me. I went to a hotel with Jasmine instead of being home with my wife and daughter opening presents. The texts started coming on the 26th. Catherine's best friend, Nicole, had seen me at the hotel with a woman who wasn't my wife. Nicole had thought for a moment that maybe she was wrong, but then she'd seen us kissing in the elevator. She'd wrestled with it for hours, she said later, but Catherine was her friend, and Catherine deserved to know. I knew it was coming when Catherine called. Her voice was different, not angry, not shaking, just gone. Like I was talking to someone who'd already made all her decisions about me and didn't need me to say anything. We need to talk, she said. Not today. Not when Emma's here. But we need to talk. I tried to explain. I tried to tell her it didn't mean anything, that I was confused, that I still loved her, that I wanted to fix it. All the pathetic things men say when they finally get caught. She just listened and then said, I'll call my mom. You can stay at a hotel tonight. That was 5 months ago. I lost my daughter's birthdays and Christmas, not because a judge said I could only see her on certain days, but because Catherine's lawyer made sure of that anyway. I lost the house. I lost 60% of my income in child support and alimony. I lost my friends, real friends, people I'd known for years, took one look at what I'd done and decided I wasn't the guy they thought I was. I lost Jasmine too, of course. Turns out she never actually wanted to be with me, she wanted to be the woman who took someone else's husband. The second I became actually available, the fantasy died. But the worst thing I lost was the ability to be the person my daughter sees when she looks at me. Catherine won't stop me from seeing Emma. She's not that kind of person. But Emma knows something's wrong. She asks why Daddy doesn't live there anymore. She asks why Mommy's eyes are red sometimes. She asks why we can't have our old life back, and I don't have an answer that makes sense to a 5-year-old because there isn't one. I destroyed that life because I felt invisible, because I wanted to feel like I mattered, because I convinced myself I deserved better. The last time I picked Emma up, she showed me a drawing she'd made at school. It was a picture of a house with 4 people in it, and she told me it was our family, and could we please make it real again? I drove her back to Catherine's house, and I sat in my car for 2 hours not being able to move. That's when I realized the truth, I didn't want better. I was better, before. I was a man who had a wife who loved him despite knowing every terrible thing about him. I had a daughter who looked at me like I was a hero. I had a home that wasn't fancy but was mine, that I'd built with someone who chose to be there every single day. And I threw it away because someone looked at me like I was interesting. I'm writing this because I need someone to read it and understand something. It won't happen to you the way it happened to me. It'll be different. It'll be your own custom rationalization, your own perfect narrative about why you deserve more, why your partner isn't enough, why this other person actually understands you. And maybe they do understand you better than your partner does. But here's what I know now, understanding isn't love. Excitement isn't love. Feeling seen by someone new, the rush of it, the ego boost, none of that is love. Love is someone knowing you completely and staying. Love is someone being tired after a 12-hour shift and still asking how your day was. Love is someone giving you a second chance when you crash their car, or blow the budget, or make a stupid decision at work. Love is a 5-year-old drawing a picture of a family that doesn't exist anymore because her dad was stupid enough to throw it away. I didn't just lose a marriage. I lost the person I was supposed to be. 6 months of living in a 1-bedroom apartment and dating Jasmine was enough to show me exactly what I'd done. It was enough to show me that when the novelty wore off, and it wore off fast, she was just a woman I didn't have much in common with, a woman whose attention had been predicated on me being someone else's property, someone forbidden. Once I was available, I stopped being interesting. I was just a 34-year-old divorced guy with a kid and a custody schedule. That was around the same time the real weight started hitting me. Not the regret, I'd felt that immediately, but the scope of it. The way my life had irrevocably fractured into before and after, and there was no way back. I quit my job in March because I couldn't handle walking past Reynolds' desk and seeing him pretending he didn't know what I'd done. I started freelancing, which meant my income dropped by 40%, which meant I had to give up the one bedroom and move into a studio apartment with a futon and a dent in my bank account that gets bigger every month. I see Emma 3 weekends a month, which is what the court decided was appropriate, and sometimes I think about fighting for more, but then I remember that I don't have the moral high ground anymore. I'm the one who destroyed this family. Emma doesn't owe me extra time. Catherine moved on pretty quickly, which is something I can't think about without feeling like my chest is caving in. There's a guy, her therapist's brother, of all the cliches, and he picks Emma up sometimes, and she seems happy. Emma talks about him. Sometimes she slips and calls him uncle, but he's not her uncle. He's the person who's going to be her stepfather within the year, which is where this is all headed. I don't blame Catherine. I need to be clear about that. She did everything right. She went to therapy. She figured out her part in our disconnection, and yeah, there was a part, there always is, but she took responsibility for her stuff without using it as an excuse to justify betraying her marriage vows. She's been a better person through this entire nightmare than I have. The thing nobody tells you about affairs is that it doesn't end when you get caught. It just transforms. It becomes this permanent scar tissue in your brain that itches every time you think about it. Which is all the time. I lie awake at night and replay moments. Not the sex with Jasmine, that fades pretty quickly, it turns out. What I replay is small things. The time Emma was maybe 3 and she got scared during a thunderstorm, and Catherine was at work, and I laid in bed with her until she fell asleep. The way Catherine laughed, really laughed, not the tired laugh she gave people at parties, when we watched stupid movies together. The morning we found out she was pregnant, and I held her while she cried happy tears, and I promised her that I would be there for every second of it. I kept that promise for 5 years, and then I broke it, and I don't know how to live with that. The therapist I'm seeing, court-ordered, as part of the custody arrangement, keeps asking me what I was looking for. What was the void I was trying to fill? And the honest answer is, I don't know. I think I was looking for someone to make me feel like I mattered again, but the thing is, I mattered. Catherine made me matter. Emma made me matter. I was so busy feeling like I was invisible that I didn't see how much light I was actually taking up in their lives. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes with this. It's not the loneliness of being single, there are other people, and sometimes I go on dates, and sometimes I sleep with someone, and it's fine. It's the loneliness of knowing that you had something real and you destroyed it with your own hands. That you can't ever go back to who you were before, because that person is gone. That the people who loved you will never look at you the same way again. Catherine and I had an awkward conversation last month about Emma's school registration. We had to sit down together to fill out paperwork, and for a moment, just a second, I saw something in her eyes. I don't think it was love. I think it was the ghost of love, the memory of what she used to feel when she looked at me. That might have been worse than if she'd looked at me with hate. She's engaged now. I know because Emma mentioned it, all excited about being in the wedding. The guy, Thomas, I guess his name is Thomas, sounds nice. He's a physical therapist. He doesn't have kids from another relationship, so he gets to start fresh with Catherine and Emma without the complications that come with me being in the picture. He gets to be the one who shows up consistently. He gets to be the one she trusts. I have nightmares about that sometimes. Nightmares about Emma calling him dad and it not being me, not because she's choosing someone else, but because I chose to make that possible. The worst part of all of this is that I can't even claim to have learned a profound lesson or found redemption or any of that narrative bullshit. I haven't gotten better. I haven't become a good man who understands the error of his ways. I'm just a guy who misses his old life and knows it's his fault and can't fix it. That's the end of the story. No redemption arc. No getting back together. No lesson that makes this all worth it. Emma asked me last week why I had to have a different apartment. She's 5, so her questions are very simple and very damning. I told her that sometimes people make bad choices, and then they have to live with them. She asked if I could make a good choice and fix it, and I told her no, baby, sometimes you can't. Some things you break stay broken. She cried. And I held her and felt like the worst person in the world, which is exactly what I deserve to feel. People online, I know this because I've read through Reddit threads that apply to me, sometimes say that the person who cheated just needs to be forgiven and everyone needs to move on. That the marriage had problems already, that maybe it wasn't that bad, that both people had responsibility. And sure, some of that's true. But here's what I want to tell anyone reading this: forgiveness isn't free. And it isn't guaranteed. Sometimes you break things that other people depended on you to keep safe, and they don't forgive you, and they don't owe you forgiveness. Catherine doesn't owe me anything. She gave me 8 years of her life, and I repaid that by humiliating her, by breaking our vows, by making her doubt her judgment and her worth. The gift she gave me was a life, a real, solid, unglamorous but genuine life, and I threw it away for the neurotic rush of feeling like someone thought I was special. Here's what I know now: you are special to the people who choose you and stick around. The moment you start needing someone else to tell you that, you've already started leaving. I'm not going to say that I'm okay now, or that I've found peace, or any of that. I'm not. Some days I still can't believe I actually did this. Some days I still reach for my phone to text Catherine about something stupid and remember that I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Some days I see her and Thomas pick Emma up, and I have to sit in my car for a few minutes before I can drive home to my studio apartment and my futon and the rest of my life. But I'm telling you this because I need you to know, it's not worth it. Whatever you're telling yourself, whatever you're convincing yourself you deserve, it's not worth it. The affair won't fix what's broken. The new person won't make you feel like you used to feel. The freedom you think you're getting is just a different kind of prison. I destroyed my family for an idea of myself. For the feeling of being seen by someone new. For the story I could tell myself about being a victim of circumstance. And now I'm the guy watching his ex-wife plan a wedding to someone else, and I deserve it, and I have to live with it every single day. Don't be me. If you're thinking about being me, if you're on the edge of it, if you're taking her calls, if you're convinced that your marriage is already over so it doesn't really matter, please don't. Go home. Tell your wife the truth about what you've been thinking. Go to therapy. Tell her you're struggling. Ask for help. Have the hard conversation you've been avoiding. Because the alternative is this: a man in a studio apartment who gets to see his daughter 3 weekends a month, who has to watch her grow up with someone else, who knows that he did this to himself, and who will never, ever forgive himself for it. And you'll be alone in a way that has nothing to do with whether you're dating someone or not. Edit: a lot of people are asking if Catherine would ever take me back or if there's any possibility of fixing this. The answer is no. She asked me, directly, in front of her lawyer, if I was willing to go to therapy and if I wanted to try to make it work. This was before the divorce was finalized. I said I would go, and I did go, but she'd already made her decision. She said that trust isn't something you can rebuild, it's something you lose once and you lose it forever. She said that every time she looked at me, she'd remember that I chose someone else. That she couldn't spend the rest of her life wondering if I was choosing her every single day. And she's right. That's not a marriage. That's a permanent condition. And she deserves better than that. I don't deserve another chance, and I'm not getting one, and that's what I needed to write down.